At the turn of the 1900s, there were only 8,000 automobiles in the United States. And with only 10 miles of paved roads across the entire country, cars were seen as playthings for the rich and the elite. But by 1908, Henry Ford was set to change this notion and started mass producing the Ford Model T, introducing the common American to the world's first affordable car. To many, it seemed like the seeds of progress were finally starting to sprout. And it was in that very year that Napoleon Hill, the author of seminal self-help book Think and Grow Rich, claimed to have interviewed mega-industrialist Andrew Carnegie. At that time, Carnegie was one of the richest and most powerful men in the world. He had already facilitated the mass production of steel, which was set to revolutionize the country by aiding the rapid expansion of railroads and other key industries. But by the turn of the century, had sold his steel business for a record $300 million and turned his life over to works of philanthropy, establishing 3,000 public libraries and investing millions into American education. Napoleon Hill said that during his life-altering encounter with Carnegie, he was tasked by Carnegie to study and interview a whole host of successful people from Edison to Ford, with the mission of discovering their secrets of success. Now, people have since debated whether these encounters ever really took place, but Hill said they were key in influencing his groundbreaking book, Think and Grow Rich, which has since sold more than 100 million copies and went on to inspire self-help giants such as Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy. In Think and Grow Rich, Hill speaks on the idea that humans can access a universal intelligence deeper than individual thought. He writes, "Through the faculty of creative imagination, the finite mind of man has direct communication with infinite intelligence. It is the faculty through which hunches and inspirations are received. It is by this faculty that all basic or new ideas are handed over to man." Hill believed that by getting into a mode of creative imagination and combining this state with powerful desires and emotions, humans could access the universal mind, the intelligence of the one consciousness that unites us all, and bring forth plans and insights previously thought unimaginable. The emotions of faith, love, and sex are the most powerful of all the major positive emotions. The mixing or blending of these three emotions has the effect of opening up a direct line of communication between the finite thinking mind of man and infinite intelligence. Now, Hill had a different meaning of the word faith than we would think of in a religious context, and I'll touch on what he meant by the emotions of love and sex, but it's clear that what he was saying is the use of one's creative imagination as opposed to thinking things through with words in your head, is key in accessing the power of the subconscious mind, which draws upon the forces of infinite intelligence to deliver groundbreaking insights and intuition. People who are less spiritual leaning and more skeptical would probably say, yes, the power of the subconscious mind is well known, but that's where it ends, and any apparent deeper intelligence is definitely wonderful, but definitely encapsulated in the confines of the human mind. But either way, we currently have no proof of proving the limits of intelligence and intuition that we have access to, and our current paradigms about how reality comes into being may well be wrong. Many writers, artists, and inventors will attest, sometimes it feels like an intelligence far deeper than the thinking mind moves through in times of deep imagination and flow. So perhaps it's possible that the intelligence of the universe can be tapped into and manifest in us as the source of deeper insights. Deep creative imagination and flow are states where we are closer to our experience of the present moment, as opposed to lost in thoughts about the past or the future. And the present moment is accessed by bringing our attention away from being captivated by thought narratives in our head and more deeply into our experience of the now, our senses, and the very awareness that gives life to our experience. Those of us who regularly practice meditation and presence will verify that flashes of insight often appear out of nowhere when in states of deep inner stillness. And that inner stillness is cultivated by calming the thinking mind with an acceptance to what is and moving attention more deeply into the now. Spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle draws from the wisdom of great Indian sages and writes, "True intelligence operates silently. Stillness is where creativity and solutions to problems are found." Is stillness just the absence of noise and content? No, it is intelligence itself, the underlying consciousness out of which every form is born. And he goes on to say, artistic creation, sports, dance, teaching, counseling, mastery in any field of endeavor implies that the thinking mind is either no longer involved at all or is at least taking second place. A power and intelligence greater than you, yet one with you in essence, takes over. It's the feeling that writers get when they feel the words are just coming out of them. The piano player who enters deep flow and feels like she's no longer in control, that something deeper than conscious effort has taken over. Music, previously unimagined and seemingly otherworldly, is just flowing through her. It's the great ideas that suddenly pop into your head when you're in the shower, whilst you're absorbed in the experience of the flowing water. And it's the inspired insights that bubble to the surface during meditation. American businesswoman and self-made billionaire Sarah Blakely founded her clothing company Spanx and made sales worth tens of $millions within the first 2 years. She says, "I've identified where my best thinking happens, and it's in the car. I live really close to Spanx, so I've created what my friends call my fake commute, and I get up an hour early before I'm supposed to go to Spanx, and I drive around aimlessly in Atlanta with my commute so that I can have my thoughts come to me." Now, I'm not sure how environmentally conscious her slightly unorthodox way of coming up with new ideas is, but the theme is clear. Flashes of insight seem to arise when we step out of the usual thought patterns about past and future, when we loosen our grip on forced, rigid, logical thought and move our attention more deeply into the experience of the present moment, allowing imagination to whirl around and dance freely, and then to momentarily solidify into great ideas. It was Einstein who said, "I am enough of an artist to draw freely upon my imagination." Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. So he was aware of the all-encompassing nature of creative imagination. A mathematician once approached Einstein with questions about his thought processes and how he came up with his ideas and theories. He said, "The words or the language as they are written or spoken do not seem to play any role in my mechanism of thought. The psychical entities which seem to serve as elements in thought are certain signs and more or less clear images which can be voluntarily reproduced and combined." He seems to be saying that instead of thinking things through with words in his head, it was more of a loose dance or play of images and ideas before they solidified into logical concepts. He went on to say, "It is also clear that the desire to arrive finally at logically connected concepts is the emotional basis of this rather vague play, but taken from a psychological viewpoint, this combinatory play seems to be the essential feature in productive thought before there is any connection with logical construction in words." So Einstein was saying that he always had a desire to arrive at a solid concept, but that a kind of nebulous dance of images had to take place first in the theatre of his creative imagination. In 1921, the great inventor Nikola Tesla was interviewed for the American magazine about his method of work and revealed, "Here, in brief, is my own method. After experiencing a desire to invent a particular thing, I may go on for months or years with the idea in the back of my head. Whenever I feel like it, I roam around in my imagination and think about the problem without any deliberate concentration. This is a period of incubation. Then follows a period of direct effort. I choose carefully the possible solutions of the problem I'm considering and gradually center my mind on narrowed field of investigation." And so both Tesla and Einstein are telling us that the power to come up with revolutionary concepts is in first letting ideas and images dance and play in our imagination, allowing insights to rise to the surface, then honing them down to specifics. But that it is also important to have a desire to arrive at a specific outcome or solution. And Napoleon Hill was adamant that any fear or doubt in the process will interrupt it, and that you need to have unwavering faith that solutions will come. In Think and Grow Rich, he writes, "If you pray for a thing, but you have fear as you pray that you may not receive it, or that your prayer will not be acted upon by infinite intelligence, your prayer will have been in vain." He had a theory that the subconscious mind is the intermediary, which translates one's prayers into terms which infinite intelligence can recognize, presents the message, and brings back the answer in the form of a definite plan or idea for procuring the object of the prayer. Now, when Hill says prayer, he basically means a strong intention, an instruction to the subconscious mind to communicate with infinite intelligence and deliver up the appropriate flashes of intuition. But that we need to be fearless in this process. It's theorized that the more doubt one introduces into the process, the more the subconscious mind will work with that doubt and deliver up thoughts about how it's not going to work out, rather than inspirations that lead to success. And so, how do we become fearless in this process? Well, this is why Hill also talked about the emotions of love and sex. We all know the famous quote, "Love is the antidote to fear." And Hill talked about the same thing now talked about in law of attraction circles, that the emotion of love is thought to be a high frequency or high vibration emotion, and that living more predominantly in these high vibration states is the key to tapping into the universal mind. Although this all sounds a bit woo-woo, there is now some science starting to reveal the links between emotional states and brain waves. Gamma waves are patterns of neural oscillation measured in the human brain. They're the highest frequency of brain waves that we see in humans and are commonly linked with insight, peak focus, and expanded consciousness. In 2004, a study with a group of Tibetan Buddhist monks revealed some very interesting findings. Using electrodes, a neuroscientist monitored the patterns of electrical activity produced by their brains as they practiced loving kindness meditation. And the presence of gamma waves in the brain as they meditated was the largest ever seen in humans. Is this the key to accessing infinite intelligence? Well, Hill seemed to think that this, combined with the emotion of sex, the mind is elevated to such a point that the ability to access universal intelligence and intuition is supercharged. Indian sages and Eastern spiritual traditions and their followers have long known about the power of conserving sexual energy and directing it toward a goal, either material or spiritual. And now NoFap has practically become mainstream. Thousands of people are reporting the supercharged emotional states one seems to arrive at instead of stubbing out the fire of sexual tension and desire every time you have an urge. You conserve it and let it fuel a sense of power within you. Personally, I've drawn from all these ideas for my own creation processes over the years, and whether it's purely psychological or whether there's some deeper metaphysical stuff at work here, it's allowed me to have consistent access to intuition that I previously thought unimaginable. And everyone who uses these concepts is going to combine them in different ways to get to their desired outcome. A simple way that helps me to access flashes of intuition is to have an intention to come up with a particular idea, perhaps for a piece of writing or a video, and then lie on my couch and relax. And then, much like in meditation, I move my attention into my body and hold it there for as long as possible, coming back to it every time I get distracted. I get in contact with the inner stillness within and quieten my mind, but allow this vague play of images and ideas if I feel like they might be leading somewhere. If I get too caught up in narrative thinking, which means like talking to yourself with the voice in your head, I'll soon realize I've done that and bring my attention into the body and back into the stillness. After a while, ideas will tend to pop into my head seemingly out of nowhere, and I'll have a pen and paper next to me ready to jot down any ones I feel are particularly exciting or insightful. That's literally how I come up with new ideas for videos, including this one. And these deeply insightful states of imagination and flow aren't just the playground of titans like Tesla and Einstein and Napoleon Hill. Sure, not all of us are cut out to be great inventors or scientists, and not all of us want to. We all have different things that we're working on, goals and dreams that we're trying to reach that require periods of imagination and flow. And you too can access next level intuition through the practices of creative imagination and meditation, by having times where you think less rigidly and allow your mind to play and dance with images and ideas until suddenly you get the amazing aha moments that you're looking for. All you need is some discipline, a strong intention, and the desire to elevate your emotional state by practicing gratitude and love. Then perhaps you too are able to access infinite intelligence. And with that being said, like this video if you liked it, and of course, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications bell for more videos helping you with conscious personal growth.